Hello, 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 hello. It's me. I'm back. Back from playing Elden Ring like a absolute degenerate. How nice. Oh, hold on. There we go. There's the tracking. So let's get started. OpenCHGD. Let's open up the good stuff. And then here we are. Oh, geez. Ran into a few errors here. That's alright. I actually load stuff on. I actually switch the OBS scene so you can see what I'm doing. Alright. So everything should still be working as it did before. Look at that. So we have settings about, and then the runners, and then this follows the rough high-level design that I had in mind. Yeah. Sorry. Saw that I had a GitHub notification, so I was taking a look. Yeah, this is the high-level architecture currently available just on my Discord and in the, I guess, the staging branch, the current PR, if you will. So this kind of follows along with how I want this to be designed. So we have the built-ins, and this is pretty much the only built-in. Everything else is going to be like runtime loaded, which is kind of neat. So we'll have the landing page, which is just, or the landing screen, which is just this, and then this screen just contains the default viewer, some settings, and then some about stuff. How nice. And then there's the configuration. That's also going to have to be completely built in. There's not really a way around that, especially with how we have everything laid out, which is, you know, base config. You can add new features, I guess, at will. Well, I suppose, yeah, you could just add new data at will. So configuration isn't really a built-in, but there are going to be built-in bits of configuration that take higher priority, shall we say. So every single field is going to have to be a built-in. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to make guarantees about which things you want to be available. Although maybe that's kind of, maybe that doesn't make sense. Yeah. No, I think configuration for the most part, you should always have some default values that you can guarantee will always be there. Yeah, it's nice to be able to tag values like this. Yeah. I've convinced myself again. And then the singletons, of course, are also built-ins. So the primary singletons that we're using are the global app manager. We have the pub sub configuration manager. And I think that's it. Yeah, and then there's the notification manager, but I suppose that still needs to be ported, huh? Okay. Well, let's do default model viewer. So I think what I can do is I can kind of extrapolate this out, right? I can kind of extrapolate this out into its own thing. So we have trackers, we'll have, I guess, screens. Hold on. So if we're going off of this, so anything that's runtime loadable should actually be in the resources folder, because then that's gonna be our main kind of load path for all the stuff, all the goods, if you will. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Runtime loadables. So anything that's a runner. So this is default viewer is a runner. Okay. I gotta think about this because there's only so many screens, right? So where are we at in terms of commits then? Haven't made any changes, which means I'm free to do this. So trackers, that's a runtime loadable. So we can move that into resources. GUI, runtime loadable 100%. That's already in there. Model. I suppose model, I should move VRM model to the resources thing. Yeah. I gotta think about that. Gotta think about that. So, cause then like there's like the, we can call it like a pogo, a plain old Godot object, kind of like a pojo, where they're just objects, they're just data. And then there's entities, which are things that, I guess, use data, potentially used by other things. So actually the line between the two is very, very thin. All right, let's move it. Let's move it. Base model. We can move this to just regular model. So base model, and we can change this name to be like so it's a bit more descriptive of what it's talking about. We can call it like a puppet, right? Puppet, base puppet, because this is more akin to, like, this is a model. This is a 3D model, but it's, what I'm actually doing is manipulating it using face tracking data. So let's call this puppet. Puppet. So base model. Let's see, base model, VRM model, pub sub. All right, so we do need to change this in a few places. Base model, and then we're going to replace this with just puppet. Yeah, let's replace all with that, and that should be okay. Puppet, or like base puppet, right? Base puppet. Or we can call it puppet, whatever. No, base puppet, because we also have a base config, right? Usually base implies that it's abstract, but that's what like an abstract thing is for, right? We could have an abstract puppet and then a base puppet that slides in on top of that. But that's a bit too cute, if you will. Yeah, let's hit it with a find and replace. Godot is going to complain, and then this needs to be renamed to base puppet. Base puppet will then move to model. Yeah, model. So there you have your base puppet, you have your utils. Util models, which actually doesn't really need to be in its own folder for now, but we'll see. Yeah, it doesn't really need to be in its own folder, so we'll move it out until we decide that it's super necessary, right? Let's see. So this is now using base Puppet, and then we can actually further abstract out the default model viewer so it builds on top of like a runner interface. So we have like a base runner. Yeah. So like these can almost be like, we can call these like external models. So make a new folder called like runtime loadable. Let me see if I can find, where's the doc? Let me just look at it here. So let's move into vertical screen. Look at that, is beautiful. But now that we're doing that, we do need to turn off mouse ripple. Now that we're looking at two things at once. So open cpage GD, we can switch to our branch and then look at the docs thing, just using GitHub's built-in viewer. Yeah. So runtime loadable. So anything that's runtime loadable, I guess would be external, maybe? That's not what external means though. We can call it like what should I call it? I'm very tempted to just call it runtime loadable, but that doesn't feel quite right, Because then we'll need a few folders. So this is runtime loadables. Runtime loadables. So then we move base Puppet into runtime loadables. We'll have a base runner, which is a reference. That's what I'm calling it here, right? So a runner. And then trackers. We can move tracking backend and tracking data to runtime loadables as well, just so they're all kind of in the same place. So get rid of trackers. Feels pretty good. Then there needs to be a GUI thing, and then a plugin. So there's a base Puppet, base runner, which implies that you can use them as is, or you can extend them. Whereas tracking backend and tracking data, well, if I rename it to interface, then it's gonna be kind of a pain. Well, to think about it. Think about it. Maybe what if I just call it Puppet and then this is runner? Yeah, okay. Nah. Because the thing I'm thinking about is like, what if because I'll need to have like a plugin.gd, right? God, I hate naming things. I hate naming things. So we have the runner, the model, the tracker stuff. The GUI still needs to be, I still need an interface for that as well. And then the plugin stuff. And then these all need to be able to read from, or I guess there just needs to be like a runtime loadable manager that handles loading in all the new stuff it finds. I'll think about that. Because it's not, I can't call it tracking plugin because that doesn't make any sense. Base plugin doesn't really make a lot of sense either. We'll call it VSS plugin. Even though it's not VSS just yet, we can pretend like this is the back port. Actually, it's going to be a forward port, but You know how that do. Yeah, VSS plugin. There'll be some sort of reference. Or I guess it... plugin traits. So in... I just had this idea. So in Groovy, which is the most popular language that's used for creating Jenkins pipelines, Groovy, you have traits. So traits are interfaces that carry both default implementations and state, which is a bit weird. It's kind of how like how Rust works actually. Plugin traits. Yeah, I guess we'll, because it's not an interface, because these will have default stuff. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. I think that's what I'm going to do. So they're interfaces that may or may not be already implemented. So there's a runner trait. We'll call this puppet trait. Rename. Puppet trait, tracking backend trait. And we'll have to tracking data trait. Well, these are interfaces actually, because I don't provide any implementation here. Okay, so let's wiggle these around. So base puppet. Look for this. Don't change anything in your project.godot. This needs to be puppet trait. Hit me with a replace. Then tracking backend needs to be switched out with tracking backend trait. Beautiful. Replace, then tracking data. This needs to be tracking data trait. And then we'll let Godot figure itself out later. All right. So just to be nice to Godot, we will completely hard close it so it can start from new. And then we have model, we have the runner trait, so this will be class name runner trait. So plugin trait, puppet trait. Then these are tracking data traits. Oh, hold on, I made a huge mistake. Send me. This should be tracking data interface. All right, now that Godot is not open, we can just do this. Tracking backend trait. Replace that with interface, because that's what it is. It's an actual interface. Well, it's treated as an interface anyways. Godot doesn't actually enforce the interface ideology. Let's see. Now we have everything here. So this is landing screen. We don't care about that. Duck. We don't care about this. This extends puppet traits. So these are all puppets, which makes sense. It sounds kind of weird to say it extends puppet traits. Usually in like Rust terminology, you would say it implements the puppet trait, or in this case, we're talking about the plugin trait. And then there's the runner trait. But that's all we have in Godot, so we will work with what we got. Oh man, eyes are feeling kind of tired though. I've been playing a ton of Elden Ring. Ooh, that's a game. That's a game. Which has also like 100% killed my productivity. Alright, default model viewer needs to extend spatial. So okay, hold on. Runner trait needs to be extends spatial. I think that's okay, and then this should be pretty easy to just switch out. So this extends runner trait. Okay. So let's see. I think there should be, if it's a runner, there's a few things that we need to, I guess, guarantee always exist if we just want to execute things nicely. Right? Or at least so that there's like there's some semblance of you know, standardization across potentially one-to-many runners. Although, of course, the main source of new runner code will be from me, but you know, you can let a boy dream. I gotta think. What things do we want to have be available everywhere? What things do we want to have available everywhere? Probably there's like a try load model is usually pretty good. Yeah, I think that one's okay to port back over, because which things wouldn't want to implement this? So there's try load model, given a string, gives you back a result. So var. Although I do need to modify it so it's more abstract. So let's see. So there's try load model, and then we can provide several default implementations. Yeah. Oh man, this would be really nice to do in Godot 4. Because Godot 4 you can just pass functions as data, whereas in Godot 3 it's a bit more difficult. Is there like a get methods? Oh, there is a get methods. Ooh, okay. So now we're going super deep into reflection. Returns the object's methods and their signatures as an array. I wonder what this does. So, luckily, we can just take a look. Just look at Godot. Also take a look at this. Yeah, there's a noGTD. Neat. All right. Look at the 3.4 branch. Look at core object. C++, why not? And then we'll look at get method list. What does this do? Oh. Oh, good. How the heck does this work? Script instance. So script instance is something that you would expect to find on object H. So script instance. Script instance is a script instance. Yep, could have told you that. Is that a core thingy? It is not. So yeah, so it comes from a thing. Which thing exactly, I'm not sure, but this is probably because it extends a thing. Oh no. The GD class define is actually defined here. Interesting. I have no idea. No idea. Or is it? Yeah, no, that's method info. See, this is where having a REPL would be really nice, because I don't know what this is. So if we go into landing screen, I could just do that. So give it the old print JSON, print get method list. Ooh. And then pass in, just format for me nicely, please. And thank you. Oh, baby. Look at all the methods. Okay. I think saying that anything returns a dictionary of values without giving you an example, that's an absolute travesty. All right, so... Okay. 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 So I just need to grab this. Add to group. I don't know. Add to group, I'm familiar with that. Get path, not as familiar. Is inside tree. Get node. I don't know. Get node is pretty good. Find node, also pretty good. Get parents. I'm very familiar with that one. Let's copy this over so I can just grab it. I dislike how in Windows, if you want to copy something from CMD, you have to press Control-C. Which is, you know, coming from a Linux background, that kind of freaks me out. I don't know. I don't want to close. I don't want to stop the process. Please do not sig halt. All right, but for runner trait, I think what we'll want to do is we'll call get method list to find available loaders. And then this will just have to, yeah, well, that's what we could do. And then we'll just call method call based off of the, I guess the method name. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird, but also should self-reflect really, really well, right? So we'll do func, I guess, get loaders or find loaders, right? Find loaders will give you a result, and then for now it's going to be a return result. Okay. Once again, this is very quickly turning into like very Java style, like over-engineered. But now that we're at this point, don't stop. We're making this configurable. Also, I'll be right back. OBRB. Hello, I'm back. I noticed I had like have you ever had like the times when you or play. If you're an instrument player and a player of string instruments, have you ever had like I don't know, you're playing, and part of your nail just kind of like starts to slip off, as gross as that sounds. Maybe that's weird. Maybe that's just like a me thing, but that happens to me fairly often. And then it'll just kind of heal itself somehow. I don't really know how it works. But anyways, like the part of the, like the binder between your nail and your skin is like a different material entirely. So that like dries out and becomes super irritating. And so I noticed that like under my left index finger, I had one of those. It was, I could just feel it every single time I was typing. So what the heck is that? So what I had to do was rip it out. As gross as that sounds. So find loaders, and I'll need to document this. Probably in a wiki, but maybe not. So var object methods. So get method list. There we go. And then these are let's see, get method list returns an array of dictionaries in format, and the formats this needs to be a doc string. What am I doing? Finds all loaders implemented on the runner. Get method list returns an array of dictionaries in the format, in maybe just regular format, I don't know. Do this really quick, so it'll be name, some sort of string. This will be args, an array. Let's see, args, args. Okay, so it's an array of, this is an array of dictionary of name string. I just need to document this for myself because this is not documented for whatever reason. Type integer. Let me put this on my other screen just so I can look at it without having to alt tab over and over and over again. Usage, I'm not super clear on what that is, but one day I'll figure it out. I'll actually look at the source code. So default args. What is default args? Does anything have default args? Let's see. Actual args. All right, then we have get node or null. Let's just see, get node, that's pretty good. Flags, I don't really know what flags is, but it is an integer. ID, which is presumably the internal method ID. So this is a string. This is also a string. Type integer int string. Usage int. All right, cool. Cool. loader must be in format like load file type. Loader must be in format load file type blah blah results. If not, things might break. Yeah, that feels pretty good. So we can, from this point onwards, start implementing, or I guess re-implementing. So there's GLB, SCN, and text scene, and then I can implement VRM, I guess, separately as its own kind of loader plugin, maybe. Or maybe VRM should just be its own loader, if you will. I gotta think about that, right? So if you wanted to just have a plugin that adds support, for a new file type, so basically like injecting in a loader at runtime. So if you wanted to, I don't know, somehow load in an FBX file, even though that's stripped out of Godot at runtime, how would you do that? Maybe everything should just be plugins, I don't know. We'll think about it. But for now, I think this is okay. So these are the basic ones, right? So we start with loaders, finds all loaders info and other, along with loaders from plugins. Yeah, there we go. So start with currently, or start with loaders implemented in the current / sub scope. So there's object methods. So whenever you extend this, should just work, I guess. Or maybe loaders should always just be from a plugin. I don't know. We can do it in several different ways. Let's not worry about it too much. So since we get a big dictionary or an array of dictionaries in format blah blah, right? It's beautiful. Let's push this up one level. One of these, right? So object methods. So these are all the methods, and then we're just looking for name, string, blah blah, all that good stuff. Maybe we should actually cache it on ready, but that's okay. You don't usually load models that often. So for I in object, or I guess for method description in object methods. So they'll be in this format, just a big dictionary. So we'll want to grab the name. So var split name is equal to, or this will be a pool string array. So method description dot name, it's That's not how you do it. Dot name split based off of these things. Yeah. And so we're looking for things that are at least of size 2. Yeah, actually, only size 2. Because I don't know of another way of doing this otherwise, right? Because how would you have a file extension that is, well, I know how you would have a file extension that is 2 words, you just add an underscore. File extensions don't actually mean anything, right? File extensions are just a hint on how to display things to the user. Actual file types, like binary file types, usually have a magic header that describes the file type. I only know this because I had to work with GIF files before, or I wrote a plugin for GIF files. So let's see, split name. If split name size is less than 2, then we'll just continue. And then if split name 0 does not equal, well, yeah, no, we can just do a direct equal, right? So if you, for whatever reason, hold on. Yeah, so if split name 0, well, okay, hold on. Bar first index is equal to 0 if split name, I will call it load index, right? Load index is empty, then load index is equal to 1. Or split. No, I guess we'll just have to assume, right? So if you do it incorrectly, it's not my problem. Yeah. If you do it incorrectly, it's not my problem. I don't care. So if split name 0 does not equal load, then we'll also want to continue. All right, so we're looking for things in formats. Load file type. Yeah. So just continue from there, and then we can start registering them as long as they are of length 2. I guess if they're longer than length 2, then yeah, it does not equal 2. It has to be in this format. I don't know. I guess it could be changed, but I don't see a reason for allowing for longer file names, because then there's no way for me to know which one to use, right? It's almost how like Godot works, Godot unit test. So you always need to have some sort of method descriptor. So Godot does everything via, you know, everything is prepended with test. So like this is a test function, test env pass, or like test update config, whatever, right? And that's how it knows which one's the pull. Let's see, if split name 0, if the first part of it is not load, then we don't listen to it. Otherwise, this is one of the things that we want to listen to, right? So bar r. Okay. So this return value will be based off of, I guess, like file type, which is going to be a string, to loader method, which is a string. Yeah. There we go. So then R is equal to split name 0, split name 1, and that's okay. And then we can also have a nice courtesy check. Courtesy not null check if R has split name 0, then we'll want to hit you with something. Let me think about it. We'll also do one of these, which is like func setup logger, which is easily re-implemented. So var logger, some sort of logger. So setup logger, logger is equal to logger new runner traits. Logger info using base logger. This is not recommended. Yeah, there we go. So that should always be overridden so that you have a logger for the current runner, so that it's easier to filter what's going wrong. Find loaders. We'll figure it out. So if result is error, then I guess we'll just try to load in the default model. So the default model, by the way, is always going to be the duck. Default model. One of these. So try load model. And then this one will always work. Let's see. To do stub. All right, so find loaders. If we can't find any loaders whatsoever, that's a huge problem. So logger error, no loggers found, not even the built-in loggers. Result error. Let's see, error. We can do this in runner traits, I suppose. Runner traits and region. So this will be, I guess we'll just call this runner, right? So runner. Runner. No loaders found, which is like it's an ultra fatal error, because that should never happen. open. Very nice. And then error code. Runner no longer is found. There we go. Now, find loaders, blah, blah. I think that's okay. And then we'll provide load GLB. Or hold on. So how does string split work in Godot? Give me one sec. Let me go back to landing screen and we'll just test this out really quick. So print hello world split based on that. Give me a shot. Okay, so you did get an empty. That's okay. Okay. If in note an extra will cause the loader to be ignored. A prepended underscore cause the loader to be ignored. Yeah. So load GLB. All right. Let's see. Okay. GLTF loader. Packed scene GLTF new var model is equal to GLTF loader. Import GLTF scene from the path. That should be okay. And then the base model script, which is we can just grab from here. So I guess this is more like puppet trait, right? Puppet trait script. Puppet trait script path. And actually, shouldn't these should have, actually, they don't break because I haven't updated them yet. But the path has changed for them. So these are runtime loadable, so this is now puppet trait. Puppet trait, look at that. Puppet trait. Puppet trait. Model. Load this thing. To do check against base data. Before you ask, yes I am retyping out my comments. Translation. Oh, okay, hold on. Translation adjustment. I think this probably should be available on all things. Let's see. For translation adjustment. Or maybe that, no. This is just a loader, right? Like we don't need to do any adjustments at this point in time. Yeah. So we're just, this is just a loader. That it loads in the file, which in this case is a .glb file, aka gltf2. Attaches the appropriate scripts. So this is load glb. And I suppose if you wanted fancier loading, all you would need to do is override the loader in your either your runner or your plugin or what have you, right? Although we'll need to think about how find loaders would work, because right now it's just looking in the current file. So model set script, return results, okay, model. So what does import gltf scene do? Pack scene gltf. So import gltf scene. This returns potentially nothing. If I'm remembering correctly, this actually does not always return a node. It's actually kind of a lie, but I could be wrong, so I don't want to slander them. So in gltf document, doesn't this return a variant? So import gltf. No, this is not in gltf documents. Which one is this then? gltf. It's not in states. No. Pack scene gltf. Pack scene gltf. Hey. gltf. Packed scene gltf. Try an advanced search. No. Import gltf scene. Isn't it this one, or is it not? Nope. Wasn't it this one, or am I stupid? Don't answer that. Editor scene importer? I don't think it's that one. Import gltf. It is this one. Oh. Return import scene. What is import scene? Import scene. Cast to spatial, and then this will just return. Oh, it could be null. It could be null. That's good. Because yeah, we could just exit early, which is not good. We could just exit early. So, in order to catch that, we do need to check if model is equal to null, return results error. Let's define a new error. So runner, load failed. Load, or I guess load file failed. Yeah, one of these. Error code. Yeah, there we go. What does load return? Load returns a resource. Oh, and then we should probably also have null checks for all of these as well. So var script is equal to load puppet trait script path. If script is null, we'll do the same thing. So this is a GD script. Ooh, GD script. Yeah, so if anything happens when loading, I guess it'll just freak out. Returns an empty resource if no resource format loader could handle the file. Otherwise, it'll just return null if something fails, which is easier for me. That's usually how load works anyways. So if we want to fail gracefully at runtime, this is what we should do. So there's load GLB, that's the easiest one. I think also load scene. I'm pretty sure text scene won't work. So model load path. Then we'll just do these checks. model instance, which is going to be some sort of node, I guess. Yeah, because it's a scene, it must be some sort of node. Equals model instance. Yeah, I guess we'll just do it blindly. Null. We'll just do that. And then we won't apply any adjustments just yet, but we will return result. Okay. Model instance. Model. Yeah, there we go. So now this runner trait should be loading in. Stuff. So we'll call find loaders. This is not yet used. It finds all the loaders, and then we'll need to check against some sort of database of like plugins, right? So anything that's in the runner will take precedence, of course. I don't really know how you would configure that otherwise. You have a runner. Runner is a container for the model. Yeah. And all associated assets plus a tracker, blah, blah. Also potentially contains plugins. So maybe what we could do probably just have like a plugin manager. Runtime plugin manager, or a runtime loadable manager that will handle all of the loading things at runtime. Yeah, okay. So app manager, config manager, we have our interpolation data that's in model instead. OpenCGD, we can get rid of this. OpenC show points, I would like to get rid of at some point. Yeah, but let's add a new manager as well. So this is runtime loadable manager, which is just a reference. Beautiful. Open this up. So this is class name runtime loadable manager. Okay. Runtime loadable manager. App manager. So then we still need to create our notification manager. Which I suppose could be plugged into, or maybe that could just be its own thing. Well, we'll do RLM, runtime loadable manager. So RLM is equal to runtime loadable manager, new. Yeah, so on init, we'll want to run through all of the things in resources. And then this thing will help handle the runners, the model, the tracker, the GUI, the plugin, and then also handle reading or resource configs. So we can have like a read resource config, which it will do a thing. I still need to figure out what this needs to do, but we're just coming up with the API at this point. So var scan path empty string for now, but in inits we will check. Kind of like how the config manager actually handles itself. Config manager. So if not OS is debug build, then our scan path will be equal to, oh, it's gonna be equal to something different. How did I write GD native runtime loader? Let's see, I liked how I did this. Search path is search path. Okay, good. Let's see. Hello, Oberon. Hello, hello. Getting you in. Good evening, Oberon. How are you doing today? I have been slacking. My brain is mush. It's only thinking of, oh man, like what other things can I do in Elden Ring? I've been playing a lot of that off stream. I don't know. I don't really have anything interesting to say when I'm actually that might not be totally true, but I don't know. Still don't really stream games, not really my thing. But I've been playing a lot of that. Alright, how about you? Been playing a lot of Elden Ring, as I was just saying. You know, it's been fun. Highly recommend it. Even if you're not into like Dark Souls combat, it's a good time. I don't know, like if you're into like Breath of the Wild, but you weren't a huge fan of Breath of the Wild's combat, but like you were still really into Breath of the Wild, I think you could still find Elden Ring a lot of fun. Because I was a huge fan of Breath of the Wild, but I hated the combat. I just liked like being able to go wherever I wanted. Elden Ring is not quite go wherever you want, but I think the difficulty in Elden Ring is a lot higher. It's actually like extraordinarily difficult. But I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time in Elden Ring, having a bad time. You know? Const default search folder. So this will be our search folder path. So we'll call it resources. That's pretty much it, yeah. Resources. Just call it like that. Doesn't matter if there's a few too many slashes. Most OSs will handle that gracefully. Default search folder. And then this should be default search folder. Okay, beautiful. So we're always going to be looking in resources for our runtime loadables, where our runtime loadables are defined here as being a runner, a model, which actually needs to be changed to Puppet, tracker, GUI, and then just plugins. And then all of these are defined by a resource config that helps describe what they are. The Dark Souls style games, don't like them. That's fair enough. They're not for everyone. For sure. They are like very punishing. Yeah, I'm not really into the combat in Dark Souls games. I'm more into, I don't know, I guess like Nier Automata. Nier Automata style combat, which is just like kind of twitchy. Dark Souls is still kind of twitchy, but it's like twitch once and then just try to remember the pattern after that. Whereas Nier Automata is just like every time you see an attack, press the dodge button, figure it out, or press the parry button. Does Nier Automata have a parry? Did Nier the other one? It's not Nier Reincarnation. That's the mobile game. Nier Replicants, yeah. The remake. I played the remake as well. I think that one had parrying, didn't it? But yeah, the weighty combats where everything is just like, I don't know. There's not really a way to get super overpowered besides through like using summons and all that. So scan. Yeah, but if you I don't know. I feel like my point still stands about Elden Ring. Even if you're not super into the combat, if you're into exploration, you could still find it pretty fun. Yeah, it just means that you'll have to grind a bit more, I guess. Which, I don't know. If you like playing JRPGs, that should be something you're used to. Let's see. This runtime loadable manager will be managing runtime loadables, obviously, but I think I want it to work like this library that I wrote here on the right, which is a GD native runtime loader. So it loads GD native files, which are just native binaries, basically, that have incorporated the Godot FFI, foreign function interface, so that you don't need to, I don't know, like create any resource descriptors inside of Godot using the editor. You can just do it pretty easily. And it'll do it dynamically as well, so you don't need to re-export the files either. Scans the search path. No, let's do it like this. So we're searching the scan path. Yeah, so we'll just scan here using the scan path. So, if directory, open scan path is not okay, then we'll just return result error something. What is the error going to be? Let's call it where do I have all the other manager stuff? This is where all the other manager stuff is. So pub sub config manager region runtime loadable manager. Manager scan. Let's see. What is the error here? Resource path. Resource path open failure. Yeah, something like that. It's a long error, but that's okay. Error code, one of these. So then we'll open it, start to, start iterating through it. I'm basically just copying how GD native runtime loader works. But it's not plagiarism since I wrote it. Just gotta make sure I'm not I'm not copying and pasting the entire thing. I'm rewriting it by hand just to make sure that everything is as I expect. So file name does not equal empty. It's not quite empty. I suppose I could just check to see if the string is empty as opposed to comparing it to an empty string. But I don't remember why I started doing that. I think that's just because that's what the example did. But I think you could just check to see if it's empty or not. Or I wonder if it's possible it fails. Because like on some OSs, you're able to pass in like a new line character. If you're able to pass in a new line character as like a file name. I don't know. I've never heard of an OS that does that, but I don't know. I suppose it could work. Could happen. All right. So we'll have all our files, and we're checking inside of the scan path. So the scan path is resources. So default search folder, and then we're looking for so anything in resources, by the way, which is why I'm not making it more specific. Anything in resources is already loaded at runtime. So scripts are loaded at runtime, translations loaded at runtime, licenses loaded at runtime, GUI loaded at runtime. So this is the runtime loadable manager, but it really only manages like the potentially user scripts. So let's see. I guess valid resource subfolders. So we're looking for they must be lowercase, of course. If they aren't, then something is very wrong. Let's see. We're looking for runners. We're looking for puppets. It's not really puppets. It's like, think about it. Think about it. Trackers. There's the GUI, which actually already exists in resources, so I'll have to change that later. And then plugins. Yeah, puppets, where runners refers to like the entire screen that is, you know, it takes in a puppet and then feeds in tracker data to the puppet. So it's kind of just the glue that binds everything together. The puppet is the actual model, which is the thing that you can see here. The tracker would be, you know, OpenSea face, the actual face tracker. And then the plan is, because I'm making this separate, is that you could just add your own tracking backend if you wanted to. GUI is, you know, the graphical user interface. And then plugins is everything else, right? That's just a catch-all. Yeah, and then, so puppets refers to, because that's not super obvious what puppets means. Like, what do you mean, like, puppets? Like, do you mean like a custom model? And no, that's not what I mean. That's more like custom, like a custom script that should be attached to a model that you load in. So if you don't have a VRM model, but you just have a regular GLB, but you want to attach a fancy script to it, or any wide range of models that are GLBs, right? So that's where the runner comes in, right? That's the glue that maps puppets back to just raw GLB models or whatever models you have, right? Right, the runner will map puppets, the puppet script, to a file type, basically, a model file type. That's the plan. So let's see. I guess we'll need to scan several different types of paths. Okay, so this will need to change. So scan, this will take a path string, and then we'll do, or I guess this will be folder name, right? So for folder in valid resource subfolders, scan this folder, right? And so then we can do var full path will be equal to boom, 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 boom. A little bit of string formatting. We'll pass in the class's scan path along with the folder name. All right, so there's your full path. And then, yeah, they'll still use your full path. Yeah. So scan path is just used to build, I guess, the subpath. It's kind of weird. And then here, file name is actually the folder name. But we'll ignore that for now. They're kind of the same thing on most OSs anyways. It's just that one is a special type of file, I suppose. It's like, it's literally untrue, but it's easier if you just think about it like that. Okay. And then we'll need to, I guess we'll just need to have like a scan subfolder as well, which will take in scan subfolder, which will take in a path, some sort of string, return a result to me. So for now, just result okay. Yeah. Possible folders, question, or plural, not question mark. I'm not confused about it. So for path in possible folders, we'll do var result sub result is equal to scan subfolder path, which will function much the same way. And then if sub result is error, we probably just want to not abort, but print out the problem. So var logger is equal to logger new time loadable manager. So if this is an error, then we'll do logger error unable to scan subfolder. So then sub results unwrap error to string. Beautiful. And then we'll just continue on. So if anything is invalid, we'll just ignore it. I think that's probably okay. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll use the result to do a thing. So let's add a to do stub. So what do we do inside of the subfolder? We're looking for several things. We're looking for a config ini, which will describe what kind of resource it is. So you cannot I think for now I won't allow for bundling like a runner puppet tracker all together. So I'm not sure how that would work. Yeah. That seems tough. Let's just do it so you have to have separate folders for all your certain things. And then they must be one folder deep as well. So we're looking for a config INI. Well, I suppose like if you just have the one config INI, then that config INI can describe several things about your, I guess your resource, right? Well, since these are the resource subfolders, yeah, never mind. They're already split up like that. Yeah, that's okay. Resource config name. Config INI. We're looking for a config INI. Or actually, here is an idea. Yeah, if we do it as like resources extensions, so then we'll just need to, yeah, so now we just listen for all of these, or you look for all of these, right? And then if any of these exist, then we'll, oh, okay. No, I think that's starting to get really complicated, I think. I gotta think about that. Because now this is starting to get drill down into like multi-folder madness. Like in theory, it would be really easy to have the config INI describe, you know, do we have a runner, do we have a puppet? Or like how should we be using these based off whether or not these actually exist? Yeah, I gotta think about that. Gotta think about that. Folder name for folder valid resource subfolders, and then we scan the resources. No, we're just gonna do it like this. This is easier. No, this is better. This is better, yeah. So then what do we need the resource config to describe? Possibly just like the files and then also the main entry point, maybe? No, because then you don't need any of that. right? The only like resource like config ini that you really need would be for basically just like define whether or not this is a like a GD native thing or not. I gotta think about that. That's kind of an interesting problem to have. I don't know. So if we run through every folder, scan them, I still think that it might be better to do them as bundles. So you'll have like the, well, no, that doesn't make any sense to have them as bundles. But then the config ini, I'm not sure what I would even put in it. So for GD native, it makes sense to have the config ini, right? Because you need to know like what exactly it's supposed to do. Right, or like which things are even defined in it. Like, do you want to have the singleton defined? Do you want to have like load once defined, or you want it to be reloadable? What symbol prefix should you use? But for, you know, runners, puppets, trackers, GUI, and plugins, really only plugins we need to have the config ini so we know how to use it. Everything else should be extending a built-in resource. I guess GUI also needs to have a config ini, but runners, puppets, and trackers should be extending built-in resources, and then we'll just figure it out from there, right? Yeah. I guess it's still useful to have a config ini. Yeah, we'll think about it. We'll think about it. So we'll do file new, and then we'll just look for if file open, boom, 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 boom. So this needs to be, well, this will just be the full file path, right? Possibly, possible folders. Full path file names. Yeah, so we're looking for the config ini basically. So this is just the path, right? File.read. It's not okay. Then we'll want to return error. Error code. Oh, and then this needs to be path, and we're looking for the config ini basically. Boom, boom. One of these. So this is path, and then this is config, resource config name. Yeah. So resource config not found. Resource config not found. One of these. Feels pretty good. So then var config is, we're going to be using Godot's built-in config file class. Yeah, somewhat interestingly is that I think Godot and Python are very similar in this manner, in that they both have built-in JSON and ini file parsers in their standard libraries, but they don't have a built-in YAML parser, YAML, which is yet another markup language it stands for. So YAML sucks for the most part. But for very short config files, which is what I'm working with, YAML is really nice. I think the main problem is that really short config files tend to not last very long. Because once you have a config file, everything is now existing in the config file. This text is not okay. So let's see. manager resource config parse error. One of these, return result error. There we go. Now, what are we looking for? I guess we're just looking for like a general section. So this is going to be laid up very, very similarly to how I have this laid out. Const config consts. So we're looking for, yeah, let's just have name. We'll start moving everything back to this. This is actually how I have this laid out in the other one. So config consts name. One of these. So general is, should always have a general section, and then the various things that we're looking for. So various or valid resource subfolders we can also just slap in here. Valid resource subfolders. Grab all these. Valid. There we go. Then default search folder. Default search folder. Just put that as resources. Very nice. Okay. Okay. So now I need to think about Yeah, we should generally always have a general section. So if not config has section config, well, we'll just call this config, right? Boom, boom, boom. This is wrong. This is wrong. Config general. So I want to return results error code. Well, it's not really an error, right? We'll just push a warning. So this will be logger. It's not really an error, but it's like an info kind of thing. I don't really have a warning log level because I don't see the difference really. If you're logging it, it's because you want to make it known. Well, I suppose warning is for things that may or may not be dangerous. So that should be trivial to implement, but I'm not going to do it right now. So logger info. Missing general section. Well, if you're missing a general section in your config.ini file for your, I guess your descriptor to like describe how it works, that should be an error, yeah. Manager missing general section. Yeah, that should be an error. one of these. Look at it, it's beautiful. So let's see. Scan subfolder, and then we're looking for these sections here. That's in GUI. Don't really need to see that. Tests, don't need to see that. Resources. So let's start creating a folder for VRM, or I guess it's trackers. So in resources, trackers. Then we can add a folder called Actually, potentially, you really only need to scan for a... Yeah, you know what? I was really set on the idea of having a config ini for everything, but... I gotta think about that. Still gotta think about it. Right, because the plan is that if you want to access anything that's loaded at runtime, you should be using the runtime loadable manager. So this will expose a function called like RLM load, which takes in some arguments. So RM load, like resource name, right? There should be a string. Returns a result. For now, let's just be result okay. So to do. All right, so it's stubbed out. RLM load. I gotta think about that. I gotta think about that. I gotta think about that. I'm still thinking about it. So this is like known resources. Known resources. It should be an empty dictionary, which will be a resource name, which is some sort of string, to a resource path, also a string. So if you want to load in anything that's runtime loaded and you want it to be, I guess, redistributable, you should be using RLM load instead of just regular load from a path. Although you could just do that as well. But you don't need a resource config for all of these except for a plugin. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So we'll get rid of all of this then. Right. Then we'll also get rid of this. That's fine, which means this should just be directory new. And then we're just scanning all of the things inside of the folder, question mark. And then actually, I think valid resource subfolders, like these should all be there as well, but I guess we're doing it so they may or may not exist. This is tough. This is tough. I gotta think. Brain is churning. So we have trackers. Put a GD, or I guess a dot get keep in here, just so we can keep it, as they say. Let's see. So we have trackers, we have plugins. Open, create a get keep in here as well. Let's see, runners. Dot get keep. And then there are puppets. Get keep. What other ones? So is runner, puppet, tracker. Oh, GUI. But GUI, I guess we might as well throw a get keep into there because I'm going to be replacing a lot of these anyways. Right. And then the only one that we need to worry about, is plugins, because that's not obvious how they're going to be used. Otherwise, everything should follow roughly the same interface. Yeah. Okay, okay. So we don't need any of these. So we don't need to read the resource config. Well, I mean, we still need to have the resource config for plugin. Everything else we can just assume because they'll be loaded, because that's what the runner is for. The runner handles that kind of stuff. Or maybe the resource config is still necessary. Yeah, because maybe if you want to make it like globally available or whatever, then that's kind of tough. But then that's tough as well. Because what does that mean to make something globally available? I'm thinking about it. Gears in the old brain are turning. Like, this makes sense to me, is that we just load these things here with find loader. And the reason why I was doing all of this as well was because I wanted to move this, which is the current model viewer. It's gonna break right now, by the way. I think it should break. Maybe not. Anyways, I wanted to move this over to this plugin architecture as like the reference, essentially. So that would need to be moved into, like, this would need to extend runner trait, which it does, and then it would need to use try load model. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Maybe this can still work. Let's put runtime loadable manager on the back burner for now until I kind of figure out what exactly, or how exactly I want this to look. So if result is error, then we'll just return early. Otherwise, we'll want to, by default, match on path, get extension to lower. And then this should be pretty easy, right? So we'll just grab this, easy, unhandled file format. We'll move that back over to runner. Unhandled file format. Handled file format. Yeah, let's see if that works, or see if that's okay. Runner trait, blah blah. One of these. Oh, but then we can't match. We can't match off this. Okay, so then okay. So this will need to be if. Hold on. Let's be var. I guess it'll just be loaders, right? So loaders, which is going to be some sort of a dictionary, will equal results unwrap, right? And then if loaders has, yeah, this will be if not loaders has path get extension to lower. Yeah, then we'll just return this. Yeah, something like that. And then try load model. Yeah, we'll do all of this stuff then. So return a result, which means that you can kind of multicast it in, right? So var var result, shall we say, is equal to results is equal to loaders hold on file extension path get extension to lower. So we'll just cache this really quick. File ext. And this will be the, oh, actually, how did I do this? So this should actually be split name 1 to just the regular name. Yeah, okay, so this should be method description name. And then that's what we actually return. So it'll be it'll be the file extension to method name. Yeah. And then here we'll search on file extension, which gives us the method name, and then we'll do call whatever the heck this is with the given parameter, which is path. Yeah, one of these. And then I guess yeah, then we just do like return. Yeah, return this. Figure it out, I suppose. Right, or something like that. Or we can do it so it's a bit cleaner. So this is like method name is equal to loaders file extension, right? And then logger info loading something using something, right? So loading path using method name. Yeah, and then we'll just do call method name path. Beautiful. So that returns a result. I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And courtesy non-null check. So if well, I guess actually we don't really care. So if R has this one, this is a courtesy non-null check. Well, log something if that shouldn't make any sense. Log something if the same loader exists multiple times, I suppose. I guess it makes sense actually if you are overriding a loader. If you override the loader, then you'll actually have the same thing twice. So you'll need to figure out which one is the implementation that you want to use. Well, no, it doesn't matter, right? Yeah, it doesn't matter. There we go. That's easy. And then find loaders doesn't actually need to be a result then, because there's no possible way for it to error. I guess besides like not returning anything. Yeah, so we'll just return an array then. Or no, it's not an array, it's a dictionary. Yeah, so we'll just return R like that. So that this will do, this will be loaders. So if loaders empty, that's loaders. Loaders, blah, blah. Yeah, that's pretty good, I think. So here we find the loaders, check to see if it's empty. If there's no loaders, then we throw an error, don't do anything. And then if there are no loaders for the given file extension, you should also not do anything. Or actually, we should just load in the standard doc, just so we don't accidentally delete something we shouldn't. Yeah. Gotta think about that. I'll be right back anyways. Okay, so find loaders, and then I suppose this one should be like well, no. This is it, right? And then if you need like specialized logic for this, yeah, then you could just override this and just like call the super implementation and then append your results onto that other dictionary if needed. Yeah, that's okay. So this should be fine. Runner trait is beautiful. Try load model, whatever. And then for this, in resources, we'll just add the VRM runner. So oh, you know what? Then this probably does make sense to have the config ini file and all that, so you have like a valid display name for your stuff, etc., etc. Like there's lots of metadata that is kind of missing if you don't use Godot's built-in like scene system, which is what I guess the ini file is trying to solve. So config name, config ini. So general is general, something like that. So scan subfolder. And then read resource config. This is also going to take a path. Well, if we're scanning the subfolder, then this will work, right? So var file new. Then we'll look for, given the path, so this path is just the folder path, which is just runners, puppets, trackers, etc. Actually, yeah, then this should actually just be a directory still. Still be a directory, and then read resource config will be called from scan subfolder. So this is roughly the same thing, except it scans in a generic path, right? So if dir open path is not okay, return result error code. What are the various error codes? This is runtime loadable manager, resource path open failure, I suppose. And then var possible folders, which is pretty much the same thing as that, as above. I wonder if it's possible to abstract this out. We'll think about that as well. We're going to be thinking about a lot of things, but not coming to any conclusions, because that would be way too productive. Possible folders, append, boom, 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 boom. So this will be path, then the file name. File name equals dir get next. And then for path in possible folders, instead of calling scan subfolder, we'll be doing var res result read resource config. So this will be that path as well. So this returns a result. Return result. Okay, that's still a stub. Okay. Then if res result is error, then we'll just return. I guess we'll just continue it. Yeah. Logger error. Unable to read this thing for this thing. So this will be read config name for path. Yeah. I guess those need to be PF, so we're not accidentally reusing this variable, because this is the parameter anyways. Yeah. All right, so for possible folder and possible folders, res result, read config, resource config, possible folder. If that's an error, then we'll just skip it. So it will not be available. And then for reading the resource config, we're going to be looking for the resource config, obviously. So config will be a config file. So we need to have a file resource as well. File new, if file open. So this will be path config name. So this is, if it's not okay, then we'll return resource path open failure. That's pretty much it's pretty much the same error for all of these, right? Runtime loader, resource path open failure. This is more like resource path does not exist. Something like that. Path does not exist, and then there's path open failure. Then what is this? Too few arguments for open call. That makes sense. This is file read. So config file new. If config parse file get as text, that's not okay. Then we'll do config parse failure. Config parse failure. Error code, so runtime loadable manager config parse error failure. Did I do this wrong? Oh, I spelled result wrong. Okay. If not, config has a section. Config general, then we'll just log an info. Missing general section. Assuming, oh no, using sensible defaults. So config general. Okay. Now let's see. I don't want to do this. So read the resource config. If we're reading the resource config, this is known resources. Resource name to resource path, blah, blah. And I guess I'll just allow it to overwrite. Didn't really put too much thought into this, I guess. Config, not config has section, blah, blah. What would I want to do with this? Because then we need to have sections to actually search as well. So like there's general, and then general has certain keys. I guess we'll have like a general keys, right? So general keys. And then these are what we're looking for. So this will be just name. That's pretty good. So we're looking for name. We're looking for probably like main file, or potentially like entry points. So if there is no entry point defined, then we'll try to find one if there's just one other file. So of course there's going to be at least two, because you always need to have the config ini. Yeah, I guess this is pretty close to how like you would structure a Docker file, right? So there's name, entry points, and then like override. So how the resource will be referred to when loading via RLM, entry point, which file is the main file, if there are more than if there is more than one file. And then override should the resource override other implementations with the same name. Yeah. Okay, I think that makes sense, right? So if you don't want it to conflict, you can just change the internal name. If you want it to override, like in place, yeah, then you can set the override to like true or false, and yeah. I think that makes sense. Valid resource subfolders. Boom. Okay. And then for known resources, yeah, known resources. I didn't think about that. I'm still thinking about a lot of things, so that's kind of tough. But my brain is feeling kind of like mush today, so I'm struggling with pulling this all together. Because the optimal solution, right, would be for me to define like just a script file. So everything is essentially like laid out via code. We don't really use Godot's scene files at all. Yeah, we won't use Godot's scene files at all for most of these. So like for the runner trait, I guess we'll need to define a default. So like the default runner. Yeah, okay, so the default runner will just be whatever. It'll be essentially equivalent to this runner here. That's not too bad. It's not very hard to create via code either, because there's only like, there's 3 different objects, I suppose. There's 4. But main light should probably be, yeah, should probably be changed into an entity. So main light is a spotlight. Main light, yeah, let's do this. So let's save this. Oh no, don't do that. Let's do this, which is say branch as seen. This is main light. Throw this into entities. Yeah, there we go. So this should be instantiatable. Think about that. I think about that. Or is there I don't think there's an easy way in Godot to convert a scene file into a, like if you have a basic scene file, there's not really a great way of turning it into just pure GD script. Yeah, I don't think there is. So let's think. I could turn main light into just a script. So, I mean, main light is very simple. Main light is just a spatial with a spotlight. You know what? I think I might do that. Right. So it is like technically an entity, but we can create something called main light. This extends spatial, right? But it's not actually connected to main light text scene, but on ready, right? We'll call this class name main light. And so by default, this will have a spotlight. So var spotlight is equal to some sort of spotlight. Wow. Spotlight new. And then in ready, we'll just add it to the scene. So spotlight. Oh, this should actually be called underscore because it is Pascal case like that. So add child. Yeah, and there we go. There's your main light. That's all it really does. And then we'll just need to manipulate the transform. So its translation should be Z3. So spotlight translate offset vector 3 0 0 0 0 3. One of these. I believe this translates it in the correct direction, maybe. Then in default model viewer, we'll get rid of main light, right? And then here we'll do add child main light new, something like that. So this should still load in properly. It appears to be pretty bright. I don't know. Give it one more try. It still appears to be pretty bright. Oh, because we still have a main light visible. So if we take out main light here, let's give it a try. So what does it look like? Yeah, okay. No, we don't actually have a main light. But if we do this, I don't know, turn off the sun. We don't need the sun. The sun's for nerds. So we do have a sun, but then we also just have the main light as well, which might be pointing in the correct direction. Although I have a feeling it's not. So what is your rotation looking like? Did this translate in the correct direction? Just gotta make sure. Yeah, it did translate in the correct direction. So why do programmers like anime? Hello, Dash. Programmers like anime. I feel like I've answered this before, but it's just a collision of overlapping interests, shall we say. So if you're into anime, you're probably not living in Japan, and so since you don't live in Japan to get the latest and greatest, you have to consume the content online. Then it's not in a similar way, but if you are a programmer, if you're like actually doing real work, not to disparage like computer science people, but like if you're a programmer, you're looking for all your answers online as well. And so since both parties are just consuming most of their content online, there's going to be a lot of interaction between the two groups. So I think that's why a lot of programmers are into anime. Or like, I guess also like, because if you're into anime and it means that you're also fairly familiar with computers, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to consume anime, which I guess probably influences you to be more into computers as like a potential career, right? So those are the two main points, really. Both parties do things on the internet, so they interact with each other. And two, because, you know, if you're into anime, use a computer. If you're comfortable with computers, you're probably more comfortable like being a programmer. What is a variable? I've got a great website for you that you could possibly find the answers to your questions at. It's www. Remember to get this right. It's GOOGLE period COM. And then once you load in that website, you can type in your question there and have pretty much anything that you want, right, answered for you. What is the difference between front end and back end? Well, one has the word front in it. The other one has the word back in it. So, I mean, it's really self-explanatory, right? One deals with the front side of the application. One deals with the back side of the application. So, I mean, do you need that explained to you as well, or? I'm trying to determine a baseline here, but I'm not sure where we stand with regards to that. Default model virus. We can take out the sun as well. Oh, no. So in our basic runner, yeah, front end and back end. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I need a more specific question. You know, why do programmers like animate? That's a great question. What is a variable too broad, and or too simple? What's the difference between front end and back end? Too broad. The code seems very complicated. It is very complicated. Because the idea is that it should follow this architecture, which I've written up here. I've changed some of the names, or just one of the names, which is model is now changed to puppets, because model is too general of a term. But this one we don't really care about. This one is more important. So I think I said I was going to put this on the back burner while I do some stuff really quickly. Logger error, unable to scan a folder. Yeah, but I think all code looks very complicated at first glance, right? Because it's a lot of logic that, you know, you may or may not have been privy to. And it's almost the same way. It's like like assuming that you're still in school, right? Like if you're in your English class or whatever writing class you have, right? Everyone is given the same writing topic, presumably, but not everyone writes to the topic the same way. So, you know, it's you, even though you may know what they're writing about, it might not be what you're expecting, which can make things difficult to parse. But once you know what they're writing about, you can kind of wrap your head around, you know, you can make some assumptions about what they're writing. So the program is unable to scan the selected folder, the program logs the error and sends an error message. Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much it, right? This is what people call self-documenting code. So you don't need any comments to read it. All you need to do is just read the code directly. So, you know, for folder and, you know, valid resource subfolders, we scan it, check to see if it's an error. And if it's an error, then we just log an error, right? And then we don't do anything with the result otherwise. And then if you want to know what scan is doing, then you just need to go down to scan, see that we create a full path, create a directory object, open the full path, where the full path is scan path and the folder name. So when we combine the two, it's the full path. Wow. List directories begin. This is very C style. So you can just ignore this. But that's how that object works. Possible folders, you can see we do like a big while loop. Scan for all the folders in that path, blah, blah, blah. Which isn't my first language. Oh, that's all right. I try to be understanding, I suppose. But your English is very good for what it's worth. For what my word is worth. Let's see. Yeah, I wasn't doing this anyways. What I was going to do is go back to default model viewer, try to instantiate everything as just a completely separate thing. So sun.gd will be equal to, this is an entity, or that's at least what I'm calling it. It's a spatial, but this should actually be a directional light. Programming seems interesting. I think programming is very, very interesting, especially if you, I guess, can read English. Read and writing English, I think that's pretty much the only prerequisite for programming, which is, I guess, both fortunate and unfortunate. So if you want to do any programming at all, you pretty much have to know English. Not necessarily speak it, but two, I mean, that's really the only prerequisite for programming, right? Besides having, let's call it like a Form 7 or wherever you're from, right? High school education, what is this? Form 10, the highest in the British education system, which is what that most of the rest of the world uses, I think. Translate vector 3 0 0. Yeah, programming is almost no math, which is the nice part. Rotates. So this should rotate on the, well, I don't know, hold on. If we're looking back at this, maybe directional light. All right, what is this? This is rotate on the x-axis -10. So rotate x, angle, float. This should be, it's in radians. It's pi over 2. Pi over 2, right? Pi over 2, radian. A full circle in radians is 2 pi. 180 is pi, which means 90 degrees is pi over 2. Yes. Yeah, I guess, even though I just said that programming is almost no math, I just had to do some math in my head, but that's okay. As long as you have the average expected education level of like a 16-year-old, you should be fine. Yeah. I think that's okay. So there's your sun. Bum bum. So in default model viewer, we'll just add a child. Sun.new. One of these, so then we can start the thing again. Default. It's very bright, as expected. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful. So main light, sun, etc., etc. What do you think about Funimation merging with Crunchyroll? Are they? Wait, are they merging? I didn't see anything about that. Funimation, Crunchyroll merge. Oh, interesting. From 2 days ago. Well, what did Funimation have? I don't know. I guess it's okay. I guess it's okay. I don't really have an opinion. I don't really watch too much anime. I mostly just read manga, unfortunately. Because I don't have time to focus on... I don't have 20 minutes to burn, usually. I do have 5 minutes to burn, which is why I can read manga. Anime girls are cute. Heck yeah, brother. 2D over 3D, etc., etc. If you want to be taken serious, I wouldn't say that out loud to, real people, but you're into what you're into. Runtime loadables. This is your... Alright, so runners. Okay, hold on. Runners, let's do a default runner and a VRM runner. So this will be new folder called default runner. Well, I should provide the default runner. Yeah. I should provide the default runner. I should not be providing my own thing to be runtime loadable. One thing should at least be baked into the application. Let's see. Let's call this one VRM runner. Call it VRM. So then you'll have a VRM GD, I suppose, and then this will extend runner trait. There you go. There's your runner for VRM. Extends runner trait so it has access to all of this stuff. And then where is it? VRM. Beautiful. So grab all of this stuff. We need to override this. This is VRM runner. Then we have access to all of this stuff, except now we can define load VRM, takes a path to a string. Okay, go back to this thing. So what I've been doing, by the way, is I'm breaking up all of this logic here, so it is extensible. So I don't need to recompile the entire application if I want to make changes. If you want to make changes, all you gotta do is create a new file, and then everything should just work. Hopefully. So let's see. VRM loader. So let's grab res add-ons, VRM loader, const VRM loader. Well, we'll do VRM loader path. All this stuff, we'll grab that. Usually it's not going to be that simple, but whatever. And for VRM loader is equal to load VRM loader path new m is equal to VRM loader dot import scene. Takes a path, takes a flags, which I don't really understand what that means, and big FPS, which I also do not really understand what that means. Then VRM model path scripts. Most of these are all built in, but I'm just providing this like externally just because. Usually these will need to be provided externally. So VRM meta. Let's grab all of this. Oh, I did this wrong. So I set script. Then transform. Oh, need to do that later. Or maybe not. Okay. Then in try load model, we'll need to override this. So boom, boom, path string. So we're overriding now. So results will equal Return result, okay. Contains M. Here we need to check to see that it actually loaded in. So if M is null, then we'll just return results error. Error code. Runner. Load file failed, I suppose. Something like that. Runner trait. Where is runner trait? Yeah, I guess that's all okay. Then try load model. All of these should be fine. Runner trait. Am I also checking to see if the path actually exists? Gotta sneeze. Oh, sorry. Bar file is file new. Not file exists. Path. Turn. Result error. Error code. This is runner. File not found. Something like that. So runner, file not found. Beautiful. So then this all works. Then this should be calling bar result is equal to, like super basically try load model path. So you want to call this super implementation. Or maybe not. Gotta think about this actually. So does this one print anything? No. Well, it is, but I shouldn't be. Yeah. I guess that's okay. So we can print a few times, but here we'll try load. We'll receive an error. So if, or I guess we can do bar result return result, something like that, and then we can check against the file path. So if path get extension to lower is equal to vrm, then we'll use, no, actually, no, because you don't need to do any of this. This should just work, right? Yeah, this should all just work. Try load model. Yeah, that should just all work. Because all of this should be picked up automatically. Yeah. vrm meta equals vrm meta. Something like that. So all this ready stuff from default model viewer, or all this loading stuff should now be implemented correctly. And then here we need to port all this ready stuff into here. So I guess setup logger needs to be, is not the only thing that needs to be overridden. We can have like a setup config. So by default, most of these don't really need to be modified, I guess. Yeah. Setup config. And then the config is really just Like the default config list and values, I guess. I'll think about that. So setup config, so for I in whatever the heck this is. For I in this, we'll do all of this code here. Right. And then we'll add these classes by default as well, because these are built-ins. Okay. Yeah, I think this will work. So then when you implement your own runner, you'll just need to override setup logger and setup config. Yeah, I think that's okay. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. I am over time and I'm feeling super out of it, so I think I'm just gonna call it here. Yeah. Anyways. I don't know. What do I usually do? I'm so out of it, dude. I just want to play more Elden Ring. But yeah, if you liked what you see, well, I suppose today is not very indicative of my usual performance, but if you like what you see, give the channel a follow. There's a Discord. What I've been working on is this application here, which is not here, it's this thing, OpenCFace GD, which is the face tracker I'm currently using, with a rendering program I currently use. It's undergoing a pretty extensive rewrite and all that other jazz, but yeah. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be live Sunday for sure, working on this again, since I thought I was gonna try to knock this out, but then, you know, Elden Ring happened and all that. But yeah. Goodbye.